Have you ever thought that the way you have lived your sexuality all your life could be the cause of a loss of intimacy in old age? It's an uncomfortable question, I know, but also powerful. Because for many men, the real obstacle is not age. It's not the changing body, nor the decline in desire. The real obstacle is something else entirely, and it's exactly what is betraying them today. Let me tell you Carlo's story. Carlo was 72 years old, a good, kind man. Retired for a few years, he had overcome a painful divorce, and for a long time, he had closed himself off. But then, almost by chance, he had met a special woman, sweet, understanding, with whom he had finally managed to smile again. After months of conversations, walks, and laughter, something awakened in him, the desire to return, to live that forgotten dimension, the more physical one, intimacy. But when that moment came, his body didn't respond. He felt paralyzed, powerless, not in a clinical sense, but emotionally. She stiffened, pulled away, and Carlo, wounded in his pride, his hope, and his identity, decided never to try again. Not because he didn't want to, but because he was convinced he was now broken. I am Dr. Giacomo, a specialist in urology and men's health. For over 30 years, I have been accompanying men in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond on a journey of rediscovery, not just physical, but emotional and relational. I have met hundreds, or rather thousands of men who thought it was all over, that there was no more room for pleasure, for contact, for tenderness. And I have seen their lives transform, often with a few targeted changes. The reality is that too many men believe that sexuality has an expiration date, but that is not the case. The problem is not age, it is ignorance. No one has ever prepared them for what happens next. No one has ever taught them how to experience intimacy in a new way, more consciously, more slowly, more deeply, but also more powerful. That's why today I want to share with you 5 fundamental truths. 5 truths that many men discover too late. 5 secrets that can help you not only improve your sexual health, but rediscover a deep and vital part of yourself. Before we begin, if these words touch you, if you feel it is time to speak honestly, write "I am here" in the comments. While you are here, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell, because there are new videos coming that I am preparing for you, with information that you will not be able to miss. If you do not recognize yourself in it, you can also abandon the video. Probably you are not ready to hear the truth yet. Let's get started. First secret: spontaneity is no longer a virtue, it is a risk. The greatest illusion that accompanies aging is the idea that intimacy still has to happen, naturally, spontaneously, but past 60, that spontaneity becomes a dangerous illusion. When you were young, desire was easily ignited. There was no doubt, no dead time. All it took was a look, a touch, a moment. The body responded immediately. There was no need to talk, to organize, to prepare, and that immediacy was part of the emotion. But as you get older, the rules change, and holding on to the idea that it should still work the way it used to can become a devastating trap. I've seen it too many times. Men walking into my office with their heads down, avoiding eye contact. They're not sick. They're not hurt. But they're broken inside. All because of one bad episode between the sheets. One of my patients, Giovanni, 69, still in good shape, began a relationship after a long time. Everything seemed to be going well. Then, one evening, things got more intimate. But Giovanni hadn't prepared his body. He thought that, as always, everything would go smoothly. But his body didn't cooperate. It froze, made up an excuse, and never called her again. That evening, he confessed to me months later, I felt like I was losing my manhood. This is the price many men pay when they don't know the changes that age brings to intimacy. It's not just a disappointing night, it's a blow to their identity, to their confidence, to their soul. And often, it becomes the beginning of a long isolation. They distance themselves, they close themselves off, they lose not only physical contact, but also emotional contact. But I want you to hear this truth. Losing spontaneity does not mean losing intimacy. What worked in your 30s was pure biology. In your 60s, 70s, or 80s, intimacy is built on intention, communication, preparation. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is maturity. And sometimes it can lead to an even deeper connection. Scheduling intimacy doesn't ruin the magic. It protects it. It tells your body and your partner, this is important to me. It allows you to take care of your circulation, reduce stress, avoid counterproductive drugs, create a favorable emotional environment. Most of all, it takes the pressure off. When you stop expecting your body to respond as it once did, you rediscover the beauty of the journey, not just the destination. But ignoring this truth can cost you dearly, not just emotionally, but physically. I have known men who have had heart attacks, hypertensive crises, or sudden illnesses during a moment of poorly managed intimacy, because they demanded too much, too quickly, without preparation. Intimacy after a certain age should be respected as a physical exercise. If you treat sex at 70 like at 25, you are risking something more than your pride. You are gambling with your life. Second secret, erection is a signal, not a defect. There is an aspect that very few men consider, but that can literally save your life. I am talking about erection, not only as a physical phenomenon, but as a medical indicator. Many men think that erectile difficulties are just an embarrassing sexual problem. In reality, they are often the first silent symptom of much more serious problems, especially cardiac ones. Let me tell you about Enrico, a 67-year-old patient of mine. Married, still active, he came to me for a decline in sexual performance. Nothing alarming, just a little less reactivity than usual. He laughed, thinking it was just his age, but I didn't. I asked him a few questions, routine tests, but something didn't add up. I recommended a complete cardiac checkup. 3 weeks later, Enrico was in the operating room for a 90% occlusion in the left coronary artery, what they call the widowmaker, the silent killer. That visit, which arose from a bed problem, had saved his life. The point is that the blood vessels in the penis are much smaller than those in the heart. If there is a flow problem, it shows up there first. And often, what many dismiss as tiredness or stress is the body crying for help. But many men don't listen. They're ashamed. They buy pills at the pharmacy. They avoid talking about it, even to their doctor. Meanwhile, hypertension, diabetes, or clogged arteries continue to progress silently. I've seen too many men arrive too late, after a stroke, a heart attack at night, a sudden collapse. But the truth is simple. If your erection changes, it's not just a sexual problem. It's a message from your circulatory system. It's your body's way of saying, help me now. And also emotionally, it is devastating. When a man loses confidence in his body, he also loses a part of his identity. He closes himself off, avoids intimacy, isolates himself, and slowly he begins to feel invisible. But it is not the end, it is a different beginning, an opportunity to take charge of your health in time. Because yes, by addressing the cause, everything can improve. By changing habits, diet, managing stress, or treating a hormonal imbalance, I have seen 70-year-old men feel vital, present, alive again. Not by magic, but because they listened to their bodies. They acted before it was too late. Third secret, sex is not just physical, it's emotional medicine. Think about it for a moment. When was the last time you felt truly connected to someone, not just physically, but with your heart? When did a hug, a caress, a look make you feel seen, recognized, alive? For many men, those moments become rarer as time goes by. And that's a problem, because intimacy, after 60, is no longer just about skin. It's about bonding. It's about care. It's about emotional nourishment. I have known strong, determined men who had built families, businesses, entire lives, and yet in front of me, they trembled as they confessed, I haven't felt close to anyone in years, not just sexually, but inside. It wasn't a desire for sex. It was a hunger for contact, for a gesture, a word, a caress that meant something. I remember Martino, 74 years old. His wife had been gone for 5 years. He hadn't looked for anyone anymore. What's the point at my age? He would say. But in his eyes, you could read the complete opposite. He missed the warmth, the contact, the complicity, and that emptiness was consuming him. Insomnia, high blood pressure, depressed mood. No drug really worked. What Martino didn't know, and what almost no one tells men, is that intimacy is medicine. Physical contact, whether it's a hug, a caress, or even autoeroticism, releases oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. They're not just pleasure hormones, they're natural regulators of mood, stress, blood pressure, and the immune system. In practice, when you lose intimacy, you lose a piece of your health. But many men convince themselves that contact is for young people, that showing need is weakness, that vulnerability should be hidden. So they close themselves off. They refuse tenderness, even when it is offered. They hold back their emotions, they keep quiet. But that silence consumes them. It brings depression, weakens the immune system, increases cardiovascular risk, and in many cases, it leads to premature brain aging. Yes, I have seen men age 10 years in two just because they had no one to hug or talk to. They lived, yes, but without feeling alive. And it's not just about having a partner. Some are married, but haven't really spoken to their wives for years. Others are single, but maintain deep friendships and affection. What matters is the emotional connection. Without it, the body slowly shuts down. If you have noticed that you have become distant, if you have lost interest in contact, if you have told yourself that it doesn't matter anymore, maybe you are entering a silent emotional hunger, and it is costing you more than you think. But you can still change. Seeking contact, talking to those close to you, opening up, even just a little, can make a huge difference. And yes, even after 70, intimacy can bring pleasure, vitality, and even joy. Because at that age, it is truer, It is deeper. It is free from roles, from duties. It is made of authenticity. Secret 4. Pornography is silently destroying your confidence. There is a habit that very few people talk about openly, but that involves many men, especially when they feel lonely, curious, or in need of something that makes them feel alive again. It is fast. It is easy. It is private. I'm talking about pornography. At first glance, it may seem harmless, even natural as we age. Yet in my more than 30 years of clinical experience, I have seen nothing erode a man's confidence and self-esteem like regular pornography use. The problem isn't just what you look at, it's what you stop feeling. Take the case of Walter, 71, a former sailor, a proud man. He confessed to me that he hadn't touched his wife in 4 years. He thought it was normal, that they had simply grown apart. But digging deeper, the truth emerged. Walter watched adult content every day. At first, only occasionally, then more and more often, until those images completely replaced reality. His wife was no longer enough for him. She was not young enough, sensual enough, responsive enough. He was bored. He was irritated. Eventually, she stopped looking for him too. Here's what happens. The brain gets used to artificial stimulation. Perfect bodies, fast scenes, without emotion or imperfections. The comparison with reality becomes unbearable. True intimacy, with its slow pace, with its imperfection, begins to seem disappointing. Over time, this changes the reward circuits. The body stops responding to touch, to hugs, to complicity. Some men can no longer reach orgasm without the screen. Others develop erectile dysfunction, decreased desire, or even a refusal of real contact. And what happens inside is even worse. Guilt, shame, loneliness. The question, what's wrong with me, becomes a constant thought. But the truth is that there is nothing broken, just a brain that has been fed fiction for too long. I have seen marriages fall apart, not because of physical betrayal, but because of years of digital disconnection. Men who could no longer feel anything without artificial stimulation, men who withdrew from their bodies, no longer able to be present, men who were too ashamed to ask for help. But there is a way out. It takes awareness, honesty, and, in some cases, professional support. But it's worth it. Because on the other side of that habit lies true intimacy. Patient, real, emotional, human. Yes, less immediate, but infinitely more rewarding. Stop feeding your brain with the unreal can bring you back to presence, to contact, to your natural energy. It can give you back your confidence. Not the performance kind, but the real one, made of connection. Ask yourself, am I still able to feel something authentic? The answer is yes. But you have to make a choice, again and again. Fifth secret, the most dangerous time to have sex is when you're trying to prove you can do it. There is a specific moment when many men over 60 make the biggest mistake. It is when they feel in good shape. After a good medical checkup, after an unexpected compliment, after a date that rekindles something, in that moment, the desire or the need to prove is born. To themselves, to their partner, or maybe to each other. I can still do it. I can still do it like I used to. And so they jump in. Without preparation, without listening to their body. That's where the worst happens. We're talking about men who fuel up with an extra glass of wine, skip the heart pill, pop a performance-enhancing supplement, and dive into the moment with the spirit of a 30-year-old. But inside, the heart beats fast. The blood pressure rises. The breath becomes short. The body, which would have needed time, calm, and respect, is pushed into a scene it cannot sustain. I am reminded of Leonardo, 74, brilliant, friendly, who had started a relationship with a younger woman. One day he joked with me, "I have to keep up, doctor." I spoke to him frankly. "Your heart is not what it used to be. Sex is exercise. You need to be careful." He listened to me, or so it seemed. 2 weeks later, Leonardo suffered a cardiac arrest in a hotel room. He died trying to prove that he was still a lion. But it was not a sweet death. It was a preventable death. Here's the thing. Sex in old age isn't just about excitement. It's a full-body event. It involves your heart, your lungs, your circulation. It's like climbing a hill. And if your body isn't ready, that hill can become a cliff. Families often say, "At least he died happy." But behind the smile is a deep pain, because those deaths are not romantic. They are tragedies that could have been avoided. The problem is not wanting to make love. The problem is doing it out of pride, without listening to yourself, transforming intimacy into a test. To overcome an exhibition is what makes it dangerous. The truth is that you don't have to prove anything. You've already lived, loved, faced life. Your strength today is not in performance, but in awareness. Slowing down is not giving up. It's staying alive. If you feel the need to show off, stop. Ask yourself why. Is it love or fear? Connection or competition? Because what you choose in that moment can change everything. The truth can save your life. You have just discovered 5 truths that millions of men wish they had known before. They are not simple advice. They are turning points. Small fragments of awareness that make the difference between those who age with strength, presence, and joy, and those who fade away slowly without realizing it. What I've learned in 30 years of listening is that the hardest part of growing old isn't the changing body. It's feeling invisible. It's the silence. It's believing you're alone. Too many men lock themselves in their pain. They think they are the only ones. They are ashamed. But the truth is, you are not broken. You are not wrong. You are simply living a new chapter. And like any change, it requires knowledge, not guilt. Let's review together. Spontaneity is no longer a rule. It is the trap of pride. Planning is strength. Erection is a signal. If something changes, don't ignore it. It could save your heart. Emotional intimacy is healing. Not seeking it is denying yourself health. Pornography steals reality and trust. Letting go of it gives you back your connection. Showing strength at the wrong time can cost you your life. Intimacy is an act of love, not a competition. Maybe you recognized yourself in one of these passages, maybe not. But if even just one sentence made you think, feel, or hope, don't ignore it. Talk to your partner, to your doctor, to a friend, and most of all, to yourself. The deepest part of your life is not over. There is still love. There is still contact. There is still life. But it all starts with a choice to stop surviving and really start living. If you've gotten this far, thank you. It means you're appreciating, and appreciating men are the ones who really change. Remember to write, "I am here" in the comments. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to continue receiving deep, real, and useful content like this. And if this video touched something deep inside you, let me know. And if you want more honest, real advice for men like you, stick around. Because what comes next could be the best part of your life.